We're live, Senator Kushner.
Thank you, Representative Porter. Good morning. My name is Senator Julie Kushner, and I am co-chairing the Labor and Public Employees Committee. I want to call this meeting to order here on Thursday, February 4th, 2021. Having convened this meeting, I would thank all of you who are viewing this live or on YouTube. I do want to make note that we're going to take a brief recess of the meeting to have an opportunity to caucus before we get started with the agenda. And so I would like to ask all of our committee members to be on standby and all of our staff, and we will reconvene at the call of the chairs. I believe during this time, those of you who are viewing from the public, you will see CTN will just put us on pause, and we will be back with you hopefully very soon. So thank you very much. At this point, I will call a recess of this meeting, and we will reconvene at the call of the chairs. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Check, check. Check, check, check. Okay.
I see that my co-chair is back, and I see Representative Aurora, Senator Sampson, are you back?
Yes,
You don't
ma'am.
have video. Okay, great. So we can, I'm gonna then, Devin, are we live? We are, correct?
We are live.
Okay, then I'm going to reconvene this meeting of the Labor and Public Employees Committee. And we will start the meeting with remarks from our chairs. And I will just say welcome to all of you, and I hope you enjoyed the short break. And with that, I will turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Porter, for brief remarks.
Thank you, Senator Kushner, and just a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to this meeting, so let's get started.
Thank you. And Ranking Member Senator Sampson, would you like to make remarks?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, very good. So just because I said I was going to do this at every meeting, I just want to once again register a very polite but brief objection to the Zoom meeting process. I remain concerned that we are omitting a large portion of Connecticut's population from this process. A lot of people do not have access to Zoom. You have elderly people, people don't have computer access and so forth. You have folks that simply can't afford a computer and what's necessary. And in the near future, there's going to be an extension of the governor's executive authority. And I really would wish the General Assembly would make up its mind whether the governor is going to run the state because we're in the middle of a pandemic, or the legislature is going to regain full control of things instead of this scenario where we have both. And that's all I really want to say this morning, Madam Chairman, except for on today's agenda, there are going to be quite a few items that we are going to vote on. I just want to register before we even have the conversation that any votes on these items, affirmative or otherwise, are an indication only about whether or not we feel these things are appropriate for a hearing in the future. An affirmative vote does not mean necessarily that someone agrees with the subject matter or the policy before us, just that they're willing to have the conversation. And I just wanted that on the record, Madam Chairman, and thank you very much for indulging me.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your note of allowing everyone that's out there to understand that votes at this point are for in order to have a hearing. And so I appreciate that. And Representative Aurora, any opening comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Co-Chairs. I welcome everyone as well, and I'm thankful to you really so much because the courtesy you have provided us. You know, this is, as I said, my first term as ranking member, and Vice Chair Manny Sanchez, Vice Chair Cabrera. You know, this is just great way for me to be to experience this political process. And thank you so much for the insights you provided us into your thinking during those screening meetings, to let us know how we are going to get things on the agenda. And I just have a few short comments here. I do want to make special mention of thanks to Senator Sampson, because he just recovered from a surgery and he's here. He's a trooper. He's been, I really think, I'm inspired by him because, you need time to recover, and thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And I want to show gratitude to our chairs because not only was I a spectator, but I was allowed to participate in all and make comments on all the screenings. Sometimes maybe a few too many, and I really do appreciate that. Now, the 3 or 4 comments I want to make. Number one is that of the screenings we did, there were 120 bills. And 46 were raised by our members, of which 4 have moved forward. They have, of the 20 significant bills we had, none have been put on the agenda. Of the 75 bills proposed by your members, 50 or more are moving forward. So I just want, the public as well as my committee members to note that we have 4 bills which are with no consequence, with none of them being the most important bills we propose moving forward. Whereas of the 75 bills proposed, and this is as we know, the purpose of the session or the objective of the session from both sides has been to address COVID relief through this committee, through other committees. And, to tell you the truth, we so agree on that objective. Our leadership agrees, I agree, our members agree that this is a time of what you call once in a century pandemic. And to basically not focus to help our citizens, our residents on that would not be right. It just would not be right. And, as a result, that I just want to make a point, we got to do what we say, we got to really do what we say. We got to stick to our words. And that's one of the things that, of the 120 bills being proposed, a number, there are too many, 50 are being moved forward on your side, 5 on our side. I also want to say that there are some very important concepts. The second point I want to make is there are some very important concepts here that will not see the light of the day. That will not see that is what it is because they didn't make it through the screening meeting. But we have to make sure that the hardworking people of Connecticut do have our support to reduce the impact of COVID. The couple of ideas which I do think I'll mention, I don't think this is the format to really expound on anything. I'll just mention in passing is that the idea that we're not going to do anything about the DOL, which was a real challenge, the unemployment program, which was a real challenge this summer. I think each one of us here must have got hundreds of calls during the summer because of the challenges which our community faced. And that same trust fund is really in quite a bind right now. So we really wanted to address and discuss that issue, but hopefully we'll get a chance. And as Madam Co-Chair, you suggested, maybe there will be still some chance to discuss it. And I really appreciate you suggesting that, but we would have wanted to have a much bigger hearing on that, or a complete hearing on that. The other element which really bothers me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit here, because it comes to a constituent who came to me, was it suggested that during this time, certain elements of the minimum wage bill should be considered. One of my constituents was very upset because in these times, his child who had a disability, he used to get work at an establishment. Now that establishment said, listen, to these bad times.
Representative Arora, Representative Arora, I appreciate that there are many issues that we all care about passionately, and we hear from our constituents about. But in opening remarks, I would ask that you refrain from debating the issues and make your appropriate opening remarks.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I will keep it quick. Yeah, I have this habit of going on. Thank you for checking me. I really do appreciate that. So those were the issues which we were trying to bring forward, that it was the sustainability of the paid family leave legislation, the fact that, some of the prevailing wage statutes bring quite a lot of discrimination, but I hope and pray that we'll be able to bring them back. I really do think it's important that we need to be giving relief to we need to be giving relief right now to our businesses and to the employees and to our workers. And that should be a singular focus. I thank you for indulging me. As a minority party, we carry a big weight on our shoulders. We have to be loud and we have to be a check. But at the same time, we really want to, you're our friends. We spend so much time with you. We believe you bring the best of intentions. So we have to really balance that so that we can really work with you, have a great relationship. But at the same time, it is entrusted upon the opposition and the minority to really make sure that there's transparency, that all the issues are vetted, everything is thoroughly discussed and debated. And before any votes are counted, the public is duly informed and understand what concepts are being discussed, brought up, developed, and then bills produced and passed. Considering that there are a number of bills and concepts which are members of the public.
Representative Aurora, are you almost concluding your brief
Yes.
introductory remarks?
Yes, that's
Can you please conclude?
my last point here. So there are a number of built-in concepts here which are members and the public has no idea. So what I would suggest is that we do open a consent calendar, because I think the whole idea here is that we would like to be as much as possible. So for many, maybe one of my members might want to make a remark or two here or there. But there's only the few bills we really would like to discuss in detail. But if you would open a consent calendar, I think it would be great, so that as we go forward, maybe we can go through the list, and if we really think that these are bills, all of us agree, we'll just add it to the consent calendar. And if they are not, then we can separately vote on them on a roll call vote. So if you would indulge me, I would suggest that. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for indulging me.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. And I did have someone ask me if maybe we should allow folks to call the question on opening remarks, but I tried to do that gently. But I do want to move to the agenda. We have a lot of important business to conduct here today. And as was noted by Senator Sampson, our purpose today is to vote for this committee to vote to hold hearings on the various matters, whether it's a subject matter hearing, a concept, or a bill to be raised. And so I would like to start with item number 2, proposed bills to be reserved for subject matter hearing. And we will start with item number 1, which is proposed Senate Bill number 141, an act concerning workers' compensation coverage for current and former members of paid municipal or volunteer fire departments. And as Representative Aurora suggested, we will take a list for a consent calendar if someone would want to put that on. If no one objects, I will put that on the consent calendar. Representative Rutigliano.
I don't have that little wave feature on this laptop that I have. I apologize. The hands
It's still
up.
like that, and I'll see you.
I think I was just a comment that I think we have to actually create that consent calendar first. I just want to make sure we do it properly. It has to be, doesn't have to be moved and then we can talk about the bills?
Well, are there any, is there LCO here?
Yes,
OLR.
yeah, hi, this is Rich Hanratty, LCO. The proper way to do it would be for someone to make a motion to open a consent calendar, and then you can do a voice vote on that.
Okay,
May I make a
fine.
motion,
Well,
please?
Certainly. So moved by Representative Aurora, was that you?
That's right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Porter. We'll take a voice vote on this. All those, and you have to unmute yourself for the voice vote. So I'll give you a moment to do so. And I'll remind you, when you move or second a motion, please state your name, just so that we can get that for the record. And same with when we do a roll call vote, you have to be on camera and you have to unmute yourself and say your name and your vote. But it looks like everyone is ready now, and so we will take a voice vote on opening of a consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, then we will open a consent calendar. Item number 1, is there anyone who would object to putting this on the consent calendar? Representative Rutigliano.
I may not object. I just had a question. I didn't know, I guess I'm not going to object to this having a public hearing, but I didn't know what was the reason for the bill. I spent an entire year, a few years ago, on the Firefighter Cancer Task Force, and I thought we came up with a really awesome solution bipartisanly with the Representative Cook and the other members of the committee. And this program for firefighters kind of technically already exists. So I didn't know what the reason or the precipice for the bill was, Madam Chair, if I could just ask that question.
Sure. I have heard from firefighters that there are some aspects of workers' comp that are not included in this. And I'm aware that there was, before I came to the legislature, there was a compromise bipartisan agreement on how to handle this. But there have come now with some experience, there are folks that say there are some things that are missing and lacking. So I think that's why we want to have the public hearing.
Okay, I'm certainly open to a public hearing. I just really thought that the solution that was obtained by the legislator a few years ago really sort of solved the problem and actually empowered firefighters. They run their own, the money actually goes to the Firefighters Relief Association. They run their own program and they take care of their own people. So I thought it was a pretty good compromise.
I hope that we'll hear exactly what's missing or what's lacking, because I did hear this from firefighters, so I'm not hearing it from, I'm taking it from the source. So, but I appreciate your question. Are there any objections to adding item number 1 to the consent calendar? Representative Aurora?
Madam Chair, I do not have any objection adding this to the consent calendar and having a public hearing for this. But I just have 2 or 3 small questions on this. The first one is that this concept, the way it's written, the 4-liner, says that we will do 5 years. I think that the person, that the firefighter should have served for a minimum of 5 years. Now, is that something which has been data-driven or evidence-driven? Because I sincerely believe that, there is possibility somebody joins the fire service and goes into a fire, which has got a lot, and we all know the tragic incidents back in 2001. So why should there be a limit? Is there a reason? Is there anybody saying, because, once the concept says 5 years, somebody will just say 5 years. I think it should be important that we do some kind of a data-driven study or some research to figure out, maybe perhaps the OLR can, to ensure that it is what it is. It shouldn't be just 5 years because somebody thought 5 was a good round number. Because I do not think it's okay that firefighters who serve less than that just get high and dry and the bill is written adversely for them.
So Representative Aurora, it sounds like you'd like to discuss this. And so I think we should not put this on the consent calendar and we can have the discussion. I think when I ask if there are any objections to putting something on a consent calendar, if you want to have the debate and discussion prior to voting, we can do so. And so let's open up this item number 1 for discussion. And I would respond to your, and so then anyone who wants to ask any questions, we will have an opportunity to ask those questions and debate and discuss this issue. Representative Rutigliano.
So I may, if it's possible, Madam Chair, if I could respectfully maybe disagree, I think it's proper if you wanted to ask a couple of questions and yet still move something to the consent calendar. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
I appreciate that, but why don't we just get this meeting going? And so I would just say to Representative Aurora that the purpose of having a hearing will be to discuss exactly those kinds of questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think in some sense, when the bill should not really, focus on 5 years, but I guess I understand what you're saying, that it could be discussed during that period of time. That's the other second question too, perhaps, which I would have to ask, is that it says that people should be firemen who would be given this worker comp, this eligibility in the worker comp should be non-smoker. And I've never smoked in my life, but, I don't think there's any reason to be judgmental here, or have a view that only, if a firefighter has basically fought, has been in a situation and inhaled fumes and toxic and they should be eligible irrespective of the fact whether they may have smoked in the past or not. I think this is not time, that shouldn't be a judgmental aspect of it. I would suggest that perhaps, again, that should be something, there should be flexibility in the bill when it's written and discussed further as well during the public hearing.
I'm certain it will be. Any other questions?
Yes.
Seeing no hand.
My hand is up.
Okay, thank you. Representative Anderson?
Madam Chair, I don't know if anyone can clarify why former individuals need workman's comp and who are former members or employees, and why volunteers would ever be eligible for workman's comp. I'm just unfamiliar if anyone can clarify that.
I
Why would
think
a
you can ask
volunteer-
that of the, I would suggest you ask that of the proponents of the bill when we go to public hearing on this, if this matter is heard. Any other questions? And I'm sorry, I don't see the hand. If you raise your hand according to the, under the participants, I assume there's a way to raise your hand there. Yes, I see it. So if you've raised your hand, it will show up on the screen, I believe. But I certainly don't want to miss anybody, so you can always wave your hand. Representative Rutigliano,
I'd like to make a motion to move this to the consent calendar.
is there a second?
Second.
Well, I'll take a voice vote on that. Is there all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Whoops, I see Senator Sampson's coming back quickly. There was a motion to put this on the consent calendar. We took a voice vote on it, and I was just at the point of saying, any opposed? Seeing no opposed, then that will go on to the consent calendar. Item number 2, proposed House Bill number 5377, an act concerning the removal of COVID-19 related layoffs from the unemployment compensation experience account for the calendar year 2021. Do I see any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? I see a hand. Is that Senator Sampson? Or is that Representative Winkler? Oh, it was my pointer. I apologize. I don't hear, haven't heard anything there. I see things. Do I need to repeat that? Was there a motion? Representative Aurora.
Yeah, no, once again, I'm in favor of putting this on the consent calendar. I just want to perhaps make the comment that this bill is very identical to the item number 11. And the only difference I see is that this is only applies to 2021. And, you know, understanding the mechanics of the experience rating, the way it is applied, and there are people who would know more about it, is that we should actually say that it should be excluded rather than only kept in 2021. Otherwise, this bill is exactly identical to item number 11, which has been proposed by our members. And I personally think that both, you know, we have a very common agenda or objective here, which is for COVID relief, that people who have businesses which have, you know, done layoffs just because of COVID circumstances, you know, not by their circumstance or by their doing. So I do think it should be, so I would put it on the consent calendar here, but I just wanted to make that clarification that the idea that it is only 2021, it should be basically, it should be taken out of the calculations, you know, for the entire, for future years period.
I'm certain we'll have an opportunity to discuss that further in committee. Other comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to put this on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aurora seconds it.
I see
Second by
Representative Winkler.
Representative Aurora.
Okay, then we will take a voice vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
And I would like to ask our LCO, Rich, is that necessary to take a voice vote on every item that is moved to the consent calendar?
No, Madam Chair, you were reading my mind. I think you could say without objection and then just add it with 30 objections.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Moving to item number 3, proposed House Bill 5379, an act promoting the participation in vocational agricultural work programs by small farms. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing no objection, then I will add this to the consent calendar. Item number 4, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid-off workers in order of seniority. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Representative Aurora.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I would like to call a roll call vote on this one and discuss this in some detail.
Okay. Are we going to continue then going through all of these and then we'll come back to those that need to be discussed? Okay.
Perhaps should we just keep going down and we can discuss this and then just go down the serial? Wouldn't that be a better idea?
I'm going to continue with the agenda items and we'll see what goes on the consent calendar, and then we'll come back and discuss item number 4 and any other items that don't go on the consent calendar. So I'm going to move on to item number 5, proposed Senate Bill number 660, an act expanding workers' compensation benefits for mental or emotional impairment suffered by all workers. And I will note that there are a number of different bills on the subject of mental or emotional impairments. It's referred to in some cases as post-traumatic stress. And there are a number of bills there with slight differences. And so, we tried to look at the breadth of proposals that had come in on this. And by raising these to a public hearing, I think we can have a full discussion there. So that is the reason you'll see, in some cases, very similar bills on this agenda. So with that in mind, is there any opposition to putting that on the consent calendar? Seeing none, then we're going to move
Madam
item
Chair.
number. Representative Aurora?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think just as you mentioned that 5, 6, and 7, Senate Bill 660, Senate Bill 660, 5, 7, and 8. So 660, 665, and Senate Bill 666, just as you said, are exactly the same. For number 5, because it says to all extending mental or emotional impairment, worker compensation benefit to be extended to everyone. We do have, I would like to call a roll call vote and have objection with that. Now, on the other hand, number 7 and number 8, as we get to those.
Would you hold your remarks on the other items until we get to them?
Okay.
Thank you. So we're going to hold on number 5. We're moving to number 6. Proposed Senate Bill number 662, an act extending Occupational Safety and Health Administration 10-hour training card validity. Is there any objection to putting that on the consent calendar? Seeing none, that will go on the consent calendar. Item number 7, proposed Senate Bill number 665, an act allowing emergency medical service providers to obtain workers' compensation benefits for certain mental or emotional impairments. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing none, then we will put item number 7 on the consent calendar. Item number 8, an act concerning Senate Bill number 666, an act concerning workers' compensation benefits for certain mental or emotional impairments and mental health care for correctional staff, emergency medical staff, and dispatchers. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing none, then item number 8 will be added to the consent calendar. Item number 9, Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Representative Aurora.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is another bill we'd like to really bring a lot of points on and discuss. I think especially in COVID times, this bill would really.
Representative Aurora, you can just simply say, put it on the, you want to take a roll call vote on it and we will set it aside. But we're going to have time to talk about all of these things. So let's try and get through the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would like to withhold it for a roll call vote and not put it on a consent calendar.
So noted. Item number 10, proposed House Bill number 5952, an act eliminating undue delay in the payment of workers' compensation awards. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing none, item number 10 is placed on consent. Item number 11, House Bill 5954, an act continuing the suspension of the experience rate component of the unemployment insurance tax. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing none, then item number 11 goes on the consent calendar. Proposed House Bill number 6284, an act expanding the age limit of certain information technology job training programs. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent calendar? Representative Aurora.
Yes, I would like to discuss this further and call it for a roll call vote.
You're talking about 12?
We're talking about 12, right? Madam Chair, I just want to make sure, which is number 6-3, number 12, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. What bill are we currently on? I lost track just for a second.
We're on item number 12.
May I suggest to Representative Aurora that 12 is probably good to go on the consent calendar?
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at 13. Yes, 12 is good to go on the consent calendar. But I do have a question. Do you think I should be able to make a comment or a question while agreeing that it should be on the consent calendar?
I think if you have a comment or a question, why don't we leave it for discussion, and we'll see after that discussion when we come back to it if you want to then move to put it on the consent calendar.
Okay.
Senator Kushner, if I could just for a moment.
Sure.
I think at this point, I would ask for a brief, like a really brief, a 5-minute recess.
Oh, that is fine. We can do that. Let's take a brief 5-minute recess. It is now 1:19. Let's reconvene at 1:25.
Yeah.
1:25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I believe we're ready to reconvene the meeting. Is Representative Porter here? Great, then we will start again. So I left off before that brief recess with item number, we're at item number 13, proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers. Are there any objections to putting this on the consent calendar? Seeing none, then we will put that on the consent calendar.
Madam
Item
Chair,
number 14.
Madam
yes.
Chair, I had my hand raised.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Yeah, those are difficult to see, the yellows on the, so Madam Chair, this is what I wanted on this bill. Really, I would like to talk this up front so that we can just add it onto the consent calendar.
Well, why don't we do that when we get to it, like we did the other one? So for now, you want to object to this on the consent, to being on the consent calendar, is that correct?
That's correct. But however, you know, when we discuss this, I hope to have the opportunity to make a move, to be able to add it back.
Sure. Item number 14. Is there any objection? This is item number 14 is proposed House Bill number 6344, an act creating the Office of Unemployed Workers Advocate. Is there any objection to putting that on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing no hands, then I will add that to the consent calendar. So I'm going to ask Lee again, not Lee, but I'll ask Rich, our LCO, again now. Before moving to item number 3, I think I would go back to the beginning here of item number 1 and take up the bills that are not on the consent calendar. Is that proper?
Yes, Madam Chair, for individual votes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go to item number 4, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority. Is there a motion to reserve this matter for a subject matter hearing? Can I hear a motion?
Madam,
Can I hear a motion? We have to have a motion first, I believe. Is there a motion to place this, reserve this for a subject matter hearing? I'm on item number 4. Is there a motion?
I'm just trying to gain clarity. We're on item number 4.
Yes.
And you're asking for a motion to reserve it for a subject matter hearing.
That's correct. Thank you. Representative Porter has moved that. Is there a second? Is there a second? I know it takes a while to unmute, but I assume one of my colleagues will unmute and second this. We need a second in order to put this on the schedule, this for a subject matter hearing. Is there a second? Representative Sanchez, are you trying to unmute? You look a little frozen.
I was trying to unmute. I'm sorry, I second the vote.
Thank you, Representative Sanchez. So there is a motion and a second to put this on, reserve this for a subject matter hearing, item number 4. Is there any discussion?
yes,
Representative Aurora.
yes, Madam Chair. Am I unmuted? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. So this is, we are talking about Bill 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So now the question which really is important is this for only COVID time or the pandemic unemployment, or is this a bill? You know, as you know, we've seen some significant, you know, layoffs during this period of time. Or are we talking about is this bill, the way it is being conceptualized, are we talking about for any type of layoffs? Because we know businesses go through, in our system, the process of creative destruction. They restructure, they, go out of business, they lay off, and layoffs happen. They are unfortunate, but they happen. So my question here for you is that I'm not clear whether this bill is only for the COVID period as a response to this period of time, or is this for all layoffs at all times, that we're going to make a law here, or we're going to propose a concept here that any layoffs are followed only by recalls or rehiring, which are based on seniority?
So I'm certain when we hear this bill, we will have an opportunity to ask the proponents of the bill these questions. I know Senator Looney has proposed this, and I'm confident that he will be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. You have another question, Representative Arora.
I think Representative Anderson has a question. Can we go to him first? Because I've been doing a lot of talking here. I'll come back after.
Your colleague, Representative Anderson.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would object to this on its face. This seems like something that's very anti-business, and it would be something that would be left to collective bargaining if the employees were represented. That's all.
Thank you. Representative Arora, did you have further comment?
Oh, I was muted here. Sorry about that. The comment or the question which I had is that, I'm just thinking through when most businesses recall, sometimes the job changes. So, for example, restaurants and hotels, especially restaurants, have been really very hard hit, and have laid off several of the employees, unfortunately. Now, however, the delivery businesses are doing better. The delivery business for thanks God, really, we need to be very, very thankful that they're doing better. So the question here is that when they hire recall, even during the pandemic or not, the whole idea should be that it shouldn't be seniority. It should be equivalence or fit with the job, so that whosoever has a better fit with the job should be the one who should be recalled. It shouldn't be that if I need a cook because we have more, let's say, more to cook, I shouldn't, but the waiter is the one or the person, the wait staff is the one which has got higher seniority. I think it would be a disaster, a total disaster, if we forced our businesses that, listen, it doesn't matter, what kind of person you need, the person with the seniority is the wait staff. And also, we need to also consider merit. For example, let's say there are two cooks who basically have been laid off and one needs to be hired back. And let's say one of them is got merit, or is the hardest worker, has come in every single day on time, has stayed, done his job, is really the if we know, there are always people who go above and beyond, and he just got hired a day after. The other person who basically takes the job not seriously, thinks this is this is something just to do, and now the employer would like to give preference to merit, to hard work. That's what America is about. So are we suggesting in something like this that seniority is going to trump the fit, or seniority is going to trump the idea that merit or hard work is no longer relevant? So I just cannot understand how this would work at all. Either we're going to kill all merit or flexibility to business because seniority is going to be it. And then the final point I would make, or actually I have two more points. One is there is this huge protection already available for age. So no business can actually discriminate based on age. That's just a federally protected class. So here we are just talking about who got hired first, not in terms of age. So as a matter of fact, you could basically put employers in a really tough position where by following this law, they would be going against a federal law. Why? Because let's assume for a moment that the older person got hired later, right? So that means now you have to basically recall, you have to basically keep the, really let go or make permanent, or what they call reduction in force, with the older person, and which is a federal law. So the number of problems here are significant. And how many other states have this law? That's the other question. I looked up, I could not find one single state which had a law like this, which had a bill like this, which had a legislation like that, and there is a reason. There is a reason, because this is as anti-American as it can get, where merit, hard work, as well as flexibility for business has no place. Finally, employers believe that seniority should not be a controlling factor. When I called some of the employers to check, well, is it just me reading and thinking about it? I called a couple of employers and said, would this be okay? And their point was, well, it's not okay because seniority should not be a controlling factor. Length of service does not necessarily correlate with employees' value to the employer. It is basically important that the recall be based only on non-discriminatory criteria and not on any criteria which basically shows the classes which cannot be discriminated against. Now, most employers, as I'm told, generally tend to follow a fair process and a transparent process. And that's what's most important, that this is how they're going to do. They're going to, based on the quality, based upon the new skill set. So think about that, firms transform all the time. They merge and, M&A, do M&A all the time. So it is important to give the firms this flexibility so that they can keep the right folks who will be doing the jobs, rather than basically put on them some kind of an arbitrary one measure idea. Now, this is a bill which does not work. In trying to respond to a pandemic, we could be doing incalculable harm. The more you dig into this idea, the more you realize why no state has done it. This has not been considered. So what I would say is that this is not something which we should proceed with. Well, I would be a no to this bill.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. Any other comments or? Thank you. I just do want to assure, before we go to the vote, committee members that there is nothing illegal about recall rights according to seniority. That has been standard for a very long time in the U.S., as was mentioned by Representative Aurora, or I think it was one of the representatives pointed out this is something that is common in collective bargaining agreements. So just want to assure people that this is not, would not be illegal to recall according to seniority. With that, I'd like to take a voice vote. A roll call vote. Will the clerk read the roll call? This is, we'll be taking, you'll have to read the name of the bill and the item number and the name of the bill, and then take the roll call vote, please.
Item number 4.
Yes.
Proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority. Senator Kushner?
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter?
Representative Porter votes yes.
Senator Sampson? Representative Aurora?
Aurora votes no.
Senator Cabrera? Representative Sanchez, Representative Anderson,
Representative Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall, Representative Hughes, Senator Lesser, Representative Ritigliano,
No.
Representative Vargas, Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
That's 3 yays.
Excuse me, we're not going to announce the tally of the vote because we cannot do that. We have to hold the votes open. And we will decide at the end of this meeting, before we conclude the meeting, we will decide appropriate time to hold the votes open. And so I would ask the clerk on all the roll call votes that we're taking now to make sure that you do not announce the tally, and that we allow folks who have been here already this morning and have had to jump off and get on other meetings such as this, the opportunity to come back and vote before we close the vote. So that all of our roll call votes will be held open today. Thank you. So moving to the next item, we will go to item number 5.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've just been made aware that Representative Ritigliano, we just asked him to state his name and then say how he votes.
Certainly. Representative Ritigliano votes no.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Devin, I will try and keep a better eye on that and make sure that we get that done when we're going through it the first time. So I apologize. I'll try and be helpful in that regard. So we're going to move to item number 5, and that's proposed Senate Bill number 660, an act expanding workers' compensation benefits for mental or emotional impairments suffered by all workers. Is there a motion to reserve this for a subject matter hearing?
So moved.
Representative Porter moved. Is there a second? It looks like Representative Winkler is trying to unmute himself and second this. Is that correct, Winkler?
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Is there anybody who wants to speak to this motion? Representative Aurora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, as we discussed, there are 2 other bills which we already put on the consent calendar, which we agree with. The difference between those and specifically this bill, let me get to my notes here, number 660, which is 660, yeah, thank you, is that this is for all workers. So there are 1.5 million workers in Connecticut, in the state of Connecticut, and this would imply that the worker comp be extended to mental and emotional impairment to all workers, whether they be lawyers, retail workers, all 1.5 million. We're not just talking about police officers or correctional officers or emergency folks. And the problem this is that it would lead to a spate of lawsuits and claims, and it will raise the cost for worker comp across the state. So Connecticut worker comp is going to be higher than anywhere else because this is going to be something separate, different covered. And for example, I'm working here. I'm feeling a lot of pressure, being talking a lot. Hey, listen, I say I've got mental impairment, CGA. I need workers comp. right? It's the reason it's not really standard when I did my research is that mental and emotional impairment is extremely subjective issue, right? Two people could hear the same thing. One could say they are emotionally impaired. The other person would be fine. Now, in the case of the PTSD issues, in case of those issues were very clearly defined, that there is something which any reasonable person would say, well, seeing such a gruesome situation or a difficult situation would bother anyone, right? Any reasonable person. So the reason I'm saying is that this bill would raise the cost for workers' comp. This is subjective, could lead to a lot of claims, and I think I worry that this would reduce the it would increase the cost of doing business in Connecticut. Now, having said that, in this comes from, I think, from Senator Looney. I wanna work in good spirit, and I think this is not something, the general idea. Perhaps we can cut down the classes during a hearing, or cut down who it is for, or even get an idea is if the worker comp goes up by $1, perhaps there may be less opposition from our members than if it goes up per person by a larger amount. So I would suggest we add it to the consent calendar, knowing that if there were no other, I would suggest that, because I was the one who did say that we would like to have a discussion on this. But I wanted to make these points that this could lead to a lot of, excessive claims, higher costs. So we would need to be very careful about it. But having said that, we do agree that there are certain classes and certain occupations where it does make sense. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So Representative Aurora is suggesting we place this, now that he's had his opportunity to speak, that we place it on the consent calendar. Is there any objection to placing this on the consent calendar? And I have a question for our LCO, Rich. Having already had a motion and a second, can we now place it on the consent calendar? Is that in order?
Well, the current motion, Madam Chair, the current motion on this was, I believe, for a roll call vote. So somebody should withdraw that and make a motion to place it on the consent calendar.
Well, there was no motion for a roll call vote. It was a motion to reserve it for a subject matter hearing.
Okay, what I believe is okay, yeah, someone just state, which I think you just did, that it's being placed on the consent calendar, and then it can be voted on later.
Okay, great, thank you. As you just heard, this will be placed on the consent calendar and will be voted on later. Going to the next item, it's item number 9, an act concerning it's a proposed Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. Is there a motion to reserve this for a subject matter hearing?
So moved.
This was moved by Representative Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Sanchez. Is there any discussion? Representative Aurora.
Yes, Madam Chair, the first question I would have is that, is this going to mirror Senate Bill 227 in a prior legislative session? I guess in 2019. I know we had a public hearing for that bill. I just was wondering if this is a different idea or it is the same concept. We are trying to bring it up again.
Well, I'm sure that when we get to the public hearing, you can ask that of the proponents of the bill. And I imagine it will be come clear during that public hearing.
So Madam Chair, thank you for that clarification. Assuming it's somewhat similar, I want to make a point here that this bill is particularly directed and impacts the hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, retail, and it is very onerous on them. I ask everyone on the committee, in COVID, these businesses, when they are really down, is this the right time to bring this upon them? These businesses are the ones who really are hurting. Their businesses have been cut by 30, 40, 50%. We started off this session, Madam Chair and members of the committee, saying that we're going to try to help these workers. We're trying to help these firms, these small restaurants who are being impacted by COVID. Here, what we're doing is picking on them and making some very major regulatory changes. These are very significant regulatory changes for them on those very businesses where the objective was to help them. We asked these businesses to make a sacrifice by closing down, by laying off their people, by basically pretty much getting in a difficult spot. Madam Chair, do you see the irony here that, we need to keep our word and help them? Now, our members have found this very problematic, especially the way it was written last time, but even in any way it may be written. Now, there are industries and businesses which have variable demand, right? Variable demand, they are unable to predict the demand. And, restaurants and hotels are like that. They are just by nature of the business, is the fact that they don't know when the demand when the demand shows up. It becomes a very sunny, beautiful day, and you see a lot of patrons. There could be a specific activity, and a lot of people show up. Whereas such businesses do not have the ability to look out 14 days, 21 days and say, you know what, on this day, I'll need 4 people. They have no idea. They typically know, well, this week is going really, really strong. They will do it. And I'll tell you, these are very, very tough businesses. Restaurant owners are particularly concerned with the bill. The nature of their business disallows far out scheduling due to factors like weather, reservations, private parties, cancellations. It's not, they can't predict somebody comes in and cancels. They have a full book calendar. Somebody comes in and cancels, big party cancel. Now they don't know. They have got no one now. So this doesn't mean that these restaurant owners or these businesses are devious people who wanna make life hard for their employees. It is that their business demand is variable. This is an economic process. There are businesses with variable demand, there are businesses with stable demand. Utility is a stable demand business. If it's called, that's just how it is. There's some businesses with variable demand. Now, I can tell you for a fact that whatever we legislate, we are not going to change the economic process. The demand will stay variable, whether we want it or not. This is, as I say, a much bigger process, a much bigger economic thing than any one person or any committee or any legislator. Now, is the objective of the bill then that businesses which have variable labor demand close down and are not welcome in Connecticut? I hope not. I hope not. We need all employment we can. What we're trying to do with something like this is make it difficult for businesses with variable demand to operate in the state of Connecticut. I don't think that is our intent, but I can tell you that will be the result. Madam Chair, I want to say, as a matter of fact, on behalf of all of us, that it is definitely not our intent to be punitive to businesses which create jobs in Connecticut, but happen to have variable demand. But this bill comes out the way it was written last, absolutely punitive, because what it says is that if the employee has a variability in demand or supply, they want to go for their child's symphony, or they want to, then the compromise is okay. The employer can say, well, let's just sit down, fine, go take. But however, if the employer has a variability in demand, he's a bad guy, he needs to basically be punished. Either he needs to pay extra money or do things like that. Now, I want to point out how hard it is to run a restaurant or hospitality business. I don't know how many people here have experience with that. I have a very close friend who does that, and he's on call weekends and holidays. The hours he works are the very hours most of the world relaxes. The margins are razor thin. The competition in that business, Madam Chair, is brutal. It's brutal. You are on the top of the world, the next door, there's another one opens up, and now you're looking for how you're going to pay your rent. I'm sure my good friend and the good representative from Trumbull Representative Riccigliano would give you a primer on this. Would sit down and talk to, he sees this in real time. And the other thing is that something which is onerous like this, where they have to create schedules X days in advance, is going to hurt only the small guy. It's hurt only on the small business, 20-person, 30-person, 40-person business. It's not going to hurt Chipotle. It's not going to hurt the large ones. And I'm not saying picking on Chipotle. It's not going to hurt businesses which have billions and billions in revenues. They will figure out a way. They have systems, they have management, and they have computers, and they've got, Salesforce.com. They have their methodologies and systems. What this is going to hurt is the small guy, is the local brewery, the local restaurant. And I also want to point out how other states have done it. Oregon, which is a state which has done it only for businesses with more than 500 employees. Only for those who have more than 500 employees. So this one, the way it was written last time around, was 25 employees. So I want to make sure big cities like Chicago and New York have done it, but no single state has done it, because overall, other than Oregon, because of the fact that within smaller areas, these are really hard to implement if you go to a small town. If you're in New York City, businesses make, a lot of traffic, they can do it. But if you go to a very small town of 5,000 people, it's impossible to do something like this. Now, I just want to point out, even Chicago and New York have done it for businesses which have 30 plus franchises. So maybe like 500-600 people. There is no one in the entire country where every business with more than 25 employees has been forced, up more than 20, just 25 employees, has been forced to provide this kind of onerous regulation and costs on our small businesses. I would strongly encourage that even if this idea has to be considered upfront, the concept should be for businesses over 500 people, so that at least hospitality business folks who are looking at this legislation, they get extremely distressed, considering that they're already facing very tough times right now. Now, here is the final thing I want to make before I end my remarks, is that we have two choices here, because the demand is variable whether we want it or not. We're not going to change that. That's an economic process. We can raise costs for these businesses, raise the regulatory burden, and run some of them out, put some of them out of business, which is the way it was written last time. Or we create guardrails and let the competitive markets work, because most employers work it out with their employees in a competitive labor market. You know why? Why competitive markets work? Because employers do offer in return some stability and flexibility to these employees. Because if they didn't, if there were no give and take, and I can tell you that we can definitely hear this if this ever goes to a hearing, those businesses will not be around, because nobody stays in business if they treat and disrespect their most important asset, which is their people. And for restaurant and for service businesses, if you're not fair to your people, you will lose the best people very quickly, because the competition for labor and workforce is brutal. I'm sure that many of you who run businesses already know that. If you ask for flexibility from your employees, you have to give it to them as well. Regulation or no regulation, you don't stay in business if you don't. I would like committee members to appreciate that fact. Now, what I think is important, and I think makes sense, is that there should be transparency at the time of taking the job. And I'll tell you, even right now, most employers will say, hey, listen, I'm going to have to call you early. I will need some flexibility from you, because that's the nature of my business. I want to summarize that even if this bill were to be done, this is very untimely point in time to pick this bill. This bill is going to go ask for major restructuring on a business which is down. It's not a good idea to hit people when they're down and ask them to do more sacrifice. This industry has lost 20, 30, 40% of their employees. Many of them, there are reports that a third of the restaurants are not going to come back in business. They're going to close, and they're going to be just closed. And we want to hit at them now. We want to impose new burdens now. I just cannot believe that that would be a reasonable thing to do. This bill will kill jobs. This bill will hurt small businesses. This will make the big become bigger. This bill is hostile to job creators. This concept should not be allowed to go forward. Madam Chair, I ask for a roll call vote on this.
So before we go to a vote, let me just check and see if there are any other members of the committee who would like to address this bill. Seeing none, we will take a roll call vote on this. Will the clerk please announce the bill and take the vote?
Number 9, proposed Senate Bill 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. Senator Kushner,
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter,
Representative Porter votes yes.
Senator Sampson, Representative Aurora,
Representative Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera,
Senator Cabrera is a yes.
Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez is a yes.
Representative Anderson,
Representative Anderson is no.
Representative Hall, Representative Hughes,
Representative Hughes is an enthusiastic yes.
Senator Lesser,
Senator Lester is a yes.
Representative Ritigliano,
Ritigliano is a no.
Representative Vargas,
Okay, so I believe that's we will hold the vote open, and at the end of the meeting, before we conclude, we will announce.
I am sorry, I didn't hear my name. Did I freeze?
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Winkler, you're here, and I was trying to judge it before he announced any tally, so that was my mistake. Go ahead, clerk, can you make sure that I know when you've concluded through the names, and then I will make that announcement. But go ahead and take Representative Winkler's vote.
Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
That concludes.
Thank you. I didn't leave anybody else out. I apologize to my dear friend and Representative Winkler. So we will hold the vote open, and we will announce at the conclusion of this meeting. Before we conclude, we'll announce the time that will be allotted for people to get their votes in. We are moving on to item number 12, and that is.
Senator Kushner, sorry to interrupt. Can we take a 5-minute personal break?
We will be taking a break. Can you just wait 20 minutes? Because we will be taking a break at that time. Is that all right?
Okay, I'll hold.
It's your filibuster. You're going to have to live with it.
When you get older, over 50, you gotta, you need those breaks. But anyways, I'll hold. No worries.
Thank you. We're going to go on to item number 12. Item number 12 is proposed House Bill number 6284, an act expanding the age limit of certain information technology job training programs.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Senator
And
Cabrera.
so that was moved by Lesser and seconded by Cabrera. Is there any discussion on this? Representative Aurora.
Yes, so I think I would like to make a couple of points, and I think this is something we would have interest. I would like to propose putting back on the consent calendar. The question which really, I had is, and give me one moment here to get my notes in order. is what is the problem we are trying to solve? In a sense that anybody, especially when learning technology, there is no law which prohibits people to retrain. I am 51, and in the last 2 years, I've had to learn how to program Python, right? Why? Because, most of my world around me, finance guys, they don't use Excel anymore. They have all moved to, a different format. And, I took, a few months in the evenings, I would spend 2-3 hours every day. And, hey, it helped me out when I was doing election work, I could use Python, right? And I could port things. Now, why do we need a legislation for that? Are we focused only on government programs, or are we mandating that every 40-year plus should have a preference in a program or something like that? I'm not following. I completely agree with the intent that we should encourage people to keep retraining themselves, and in technology especially. But and these technologies get used across the board. You could use them for elections, you could use them for everything. So, but for that, you don't need a legislation. You don't need a legislation to say, oh, listen, thou will to retrain yourself after 40. Well, there's some people who will, there's some people who won't. That's just how the nature of the world is. I, decided to learn, a couple of weeks were really tough, but going back and learning a programming language, then it came to me and I did it. So the question I ask of you is that what is the intent or the problem this bill is going to be solving?
I assume when we get to the public hearing, we'll hear from the proponents of this bill. It appears that there are some programs that are now restricted to people over age 40, and I think the intent is to make sure that there's no restriction. So sounds like you'll be in agreement with that when that comes up. So the purpose is to make sure that we don't, I believe, restrict our training programs. But you will get to ask that of the proponents of the bill when we take this up as it's intended in a subject matter hearing. Do you have any further questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, respectfully, I want to ask, some simple ideas here. It would be nice because we have a short calendar. We don't want to have 40 public hearings. We will never be able to accommodate that much time. So wouldn't it be good that right now we figure out and ask that question of the proponent as to, is there a specific program they're looking at? Because otherwise we would be spending so much time as on our committee for everyone. And as you said, there's a lot of important topics to discuss and go over. So I just want to respectfully suggest that perhaps it'd be a good idea, just to ask the proponent now, and not, have to, if it is not, if maybe there's a small thing which can be fixed from executive standpoint, that we don't need to really write a full legislation on it.
So that is not our process, is to put things onto the agenda, and we do not have the proponent here with us today, and I don't think it would have been appropriate to ask at that point that we adjourn the meeting or recess the meeting to ask that question. So I would ask that we move on. Thank you. You've made your point. You're muted.
Yeah, I would suggest that we do, add it to the consent calendar, because we are not opposed to the bill in any ways. We actually think that training is good. That's a core idea which many members in our caucus really advocate for. So it was just that, our questions were around why legislation, or why, I go on Udemy and, there's $9.99, you get some great technology courses. I'm telling you, are the cheapest out there. If anybody ever wanted any input in that, I've folks will, there's some great courses for every level in technology. So, but at the same time, I would suggest we add it to the consent calendar here.
Okay, great. Would Senator Lesser, would you remove your motion then? Would you withdraw your motion?
I would be happy to, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we will add that to the consent calendar. And we will move to item number 13. Item number 13 is proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protection for gig workers. Is there a motion to add that to the calendar?
Representative Hughes, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. And it's moved by Hughes and seconded by Lesser. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this motion? Representative Aurora. You are muted, Representative Aurora.
Sorry about that. You know, hundreds of Zooms later, it's still the same issue. Uh, you know, muted or not muted. So, you know, Senator, Madam Chair, and members of the committee, my friends, this bill goes to the heart of the new business model. The business model which has allowed us to operate in this pandemic. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, Lyft, so many businesses work where the gig workers are independent contractors. They can work for multiple companies at the same time. They can work the times they want to work. And the model, as we know, breaks down if they have to be hired as full-time employees and be guaranteed, you know, all the things which go with full-time employees. At this time, when most retail restaurants are out of jobs and have reduced employment, I think this is the only set of jobs which are filling up or providing a relief to many workers out there, many hardworking members of a community. Now, when we discussed, we said the strategy this session is going to be, let's just provide COVID relief. Well, I guess this is anti-COVID relief, just the inverse of that. This is basically, as I said, our committee should do what we said we would do. This, you know, definitely does not go in those lines. Now, the normal or the general fallacy, as I would say, and I would really point that out because it's now has been tried out in other states, is that proponents think this just only impacts the ride sharing and food delivery companies like Uber, Lyft, and Grubhub. But this impacts far more than that. You know, workers in fields from journalism, entertainment, music, business consultants, you know, they all lose their jobs because what happens is that there are people who would give them independent contracts now can't hire them in independent contract, but they can't hire them full-time either. So that whole ecosystem gets really harmed. Now you may say, well, Aurora is basically just, you know, saying, you know, really saying this because he's, you know, he wants to be negative on the bill. No. This was tried out in California in detail. This whole played out play by play. What we're trying to do was done 2.5 years ago in California. And these discussions we are having now were had there. And I ended up, you know, last couple of days watching a lot of those discussions. And it was eerily similar setup. It's just we are, you know, playing a movie just 2 years later. And what happened, it was called AB5, as all of you know, the AB5 was the bill which got passed. It's called the blueprint or the mother rock of all of these kind of efforts. Now, a lot has happened since AB5 was passed. A lot has happened. AB5 was unpassed in November 2020 by popular concern. This concept is nothing but AB5. Now, experts argue that such a bill which forces independent contractors to be classified mechanically by the government, you know, are massively harmful because, especially in COVID times, because they make it more difficult for people to stay at home when social distancing and under social distancing orders, because remote freelance work gets really hurt, right? You know, so if there is a stable work, the whole day is involved, yeah, it's still available, but freelance work is the one which gets hit. And it keeps willing workers out of an economy when, you know, we know our unemployment is high. So what happened in California, we really just need to think about. In 1 year after this bill was passed, there was huge amount of opposition by not just the Lyft workers or the conventionally you would think the workers who work for the new economy, but by actors, because that's a really big business there, business consultants, even to some extent by folks who were teachers, who were doing part-time gigs with the same school over and over, but now they had to be classified as a employee. The whole model broke down. Now we know what the AB5 did. What they tried to do was they tried to design a test. It was called the ABC test. I hope the proponent of the bill, I think it's my good friend and my good representative from Western, right, who's proposed this bill. Yes, and I would like to also be enthusiastic if you pick some of my bills up. Similarly, I think a little reciprocity, we could also dance a little bit. That would be nice, but we can't because our bills are not getting the time of the day. So what I'm saying is that what happened there, and I'm sure you did the, as sharp as you are, I'm sure you did the study on that it really damaged the entire ecosystem of freelance work, to the extent that even in a state like California, which I would beg to say is, generally speaking, more on the other side in terms of doing these things, really had to go reverse it. Now, what has come out in the last year is that the old workplace ideal of the 1950s does not apply to the 2020s. Back then, the ideal thing was Monday to Friday, first shift, always same office, everyone in the same company, same insurance, same pension plan. We love that. That was then. Now there's a number of people, workers who want diverse choices than their parents and their grandparents had. Some people like the traditional model, but there are many who don't. Other people want to be able to work from home or from a cafe. They want to have the kind of jobs which are available in big cities, but however, they don't want to live there, right? A freelance gig work. So not everyone wants these traditional hours. Not everyone wants to be hired as a job. But however, a law like this, a bill like this, a legislation like this will try to basically force companies to really design based upon some parameter the state, we know that in the AB5, they had what they call the ABC methodology. And the ABC methodology was how close is each person, worker supervised, A. B, is their work part of the company's core business, B. And C, is the hiring company, the contractor's dominant customer. They used the ABC, they applied it, and the system just broke down. The system just broke down. Now, this kind of a bill will introduce so much uncertainty. And in the brevity, I have notes of 8 pages just on this bill. I'm going to just skip all of them because I want to be very, make sure that we can get through these things. This bill will introduce so much uncertainty in the most growing part of our job economy, which we cannot afford at this time. Once again, we are striking at the heart of what we said we would not do, or the reverse of what we said we would do. As policymakers, we should consider how to strengthen and expand the regulatory framework for gig work. Nobody's against it. However, this is something which requires a lot of rigor, and the body of law and practice is developing. If the esteemed members of this committee believe that we can ask our LCO to go in 2 weeks and really write up a law which is going to cover this do this intellectual dive, I think that is a mistaken assumption. I think there's a development, as we said, California did it wrong, they reversed it. We should learn from other states. We should learn from the discussion which is going on around the country, around the world. We are Connecticut at 3.5 million with a 1.7 million workforce. These technologies are national, global. They're changing industries. They're changing employment trends in big ways. What would have happened if e-commerce had been regulated and we had made all kinds of laws around e-commerce? There was a lot of calls to do that. We didn't do it gladly, and that's now helped us really in this pandemic. And it's a emerging industry which has got so much to give or so much advancement. Same thing if we had regulated Zoom and online chat 2 years ago. There were calls for that. Madam Chair, I humbly ask that we put a concept like this away for a couple of years. Let the technologies develop. Let the law and the practice develop, because we really do believe that at some point there will be some best practice which will emerge. But at some points, it's okay not to risk the livelihood and the opportunity set which is being provided to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of our workers, for some more clarity as it comes about. Thank you, Madam Chair. Those are my comments, and I would like this to be on a roll call vote, please.
There's been a call for a roll call vote. If there's no further comment, then I will move to the roll call vote. Representative Hughes?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to say to my good colleague, the Representative Harry Aurora, I would be happy to dance with you at any time. You happen to have a proponent of the bill on this committee, and it's simply to update the classification for those workers that are improperly classified as independent contractors so that they can pull together and access healthcare and other worker protections that they need to continue working in this economy and protect themselves. And it is an attempt to modernize the reality, like you say, the modern economy reality, and allow people the freedom to pursue those gig work with full protection under the law that we already have for other workers. Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to take a roll call vote.
So with that, will the clerk will you read out the bill and take a roll call vote?
Number 13, proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes yes.
Senator Sampson. Representative Aurora.
Representative Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera is a yes.
Representative Sanchez. Representative Anderson.
Representative Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall. Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser.
You're on mute, Senator Lesser.
Senator Lester's an aye.
Representative Retigliano.
Retigliano's a yes.
Representative Vargas. Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you.
So the vote will be held open, and at the conclusion, before we conclude the meeting, we will announce for how long the votes will be held open. With that is now 2:24, so I'm going to give Representative Aurora a minute early break. We will break now until 3 p.m. and we will reconvene this meeting at 3 p.m. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Take a little break. Oh, excuse me, I see Representative Vargas is here. Representative Vargas, were you trying to vote and we didn't see you? We're not hearing you, Representative Vargas. We still can't hear you.
He's having trouble with his audio, it looks like.
Yeah, we're having trouble with your audio.
Madam Chair, I think there's several of us who missed votes, so I don't know if you want to turn it to the clerk.
Yeah, can we do that now?
I would prefer to do that when we come back. Actually, we are on break, but during breaks, I believe you can register your vote if you want to stay on and vote. Will that work, Rich? Are we allowed to do that? Because I know we do it after we recess the meeting at the end.
Yeah, Madam Chair, it should be visible to the public. I mean, if you're in recess, it's arguable whether you can vote.
Okay, then I'm
I
gonna.
may respectfully disagree with that, because if we recess the meeting and the clerk leaves the votes open until say 4, my understanding is that all you have to do is be on screen with the clerk and you can register your vote.
Yeah, we're still recording, it looks like.
Right, I said, I'm sorry, it's Rich from LCO. As long as it's being recorded and visible to the public.
It is being recorded, so I'm going to darken my camera, and I will be back at 3 o'clock. But anyone who would like to vote, will the clerk please take your votes now? And it is being recorded, so I think we'll be fine. It's actually live as well. I just want to remind people that during the break, we will be live. CTN may stop. They may put up that blank screen while we're on break, but we will reconvene at 3 o'clock, and anyone who'd like to vote now can do so. And Rep. Porter, I'm sure you're going to stick around a little if there's any questions or cause for concern. But we are officially now recessing this meeting until 3 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are recessed, yes.
So Devin, are you still on to take our missed votes?
I am. I can start with item 4, which was proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority.
I would like to vote yes. Representative Hughes?
I'm just going to interject really quick, Devin, and I think what you should do is just go down the list and call out whatever name, whoever hasn't voted. You don't get a response, you just keep it moving until you get to Representative Ann Hughes, Representative Edwin Vargas. But go down the list in order, call out whoever hasn't voted yet, and if they're here, you record the vote. Thank you.
And Ed is here, but I don't know that you can hear him. So he is here. I see his hand raised.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, when you vote, you do need to be on camera.
Ed's chatting in the chat, trying to be seen and heard.
Pardon me one moment.
Okay, while we get that figured out, I have a question for Mr. Hanratty.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Am I correct in stating that when we vote, the camera has to be on?
Yeah, yes, exactly, Madam Chair. The joint rules were changed so that for virtual meetings, the legislator voting has to be visible.
Okay, and
Well, Ed's visible. If you give him a number to call in, you can hear him.
Let me check the rules to see. I know the legislator has to be visible, but let me check the joint rules about audio.
He's doing the thumb up, thumb down. All right, well, we'll just hang tight, Devin, until Rich comes back with the answer.
Madam Chair, could we go through what you were talking about a minute ago, just the each bill who missed votes, so those of us who are just waiting can cast votes?
Yes, and please, because I do believe that you voted on one and you weren't visible. That's why I was asking that. So for Representative Lesser, can you just look to see what I would actually do for him, because I don't remember which vote it was he took where his camera wasn't on.
There were just a couple. If he could just go through each one, and I think there was
Right.
just, I think the
That's
first.
my suggestion. Just to call all the bills that we voted on so far by roll call for Senator Lesser and let him vote while his camera is on.
Representative Porter, would you just like me to start now?
So, Representative Porter, this is Rich from LCO. I can answer your question now. I'm looking at the joint rules, and under committee meetings, joint rule 5C states, in the case of a meeting that is conducted on a virtual platform, no member may cast a vote on any question unless such member is visible to the committee clerk on such virtual platform when casting his or her vote. So they have to be visible.
Okay, and there's a question also that Representative Vargas has just posed because he doesn't have voice control. Can he use a thumbs up or a thumbs up for yes and a thumbs down for no? He's visible. We can see him.
Madam Chair, the rules don't seem to address that, but if the chairs allow it and there's no objection, then I don't see why not.
We're actually we're in recess right now, so I don't think that it would be fair to pose that question to the committee. So I would ask that Representative Vargas hold off on voting until we're back from recess. I will have Senator Kushner pose that question to the committee. If everybody is in agreement, then we will absolutely allow you, Representative Vargas, to give us a thumbs up for yes and a thumbs down for no. And with that being said, I would just call all the votes that were roll call votes at this point, and Senator Lester, and do it that way. I know, I'm trying to get these Sampson, I'm trying.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Representative. And well said, by the way, about the voting. I was just going to suggest, just to cover yourself, make sure you do it during the meeting. But good job. Should work.
So
You can, however, go ahead with the other members because they are visible and they are vocal, so you will be able to hear them. That was just for Representative Vargas.
So I'll begin. Thank you, Representative Porter. I'll begin with number 4 again, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority. Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes in the affirmative.
Senator Cabrera. Representative Sanchez.
Sorry, I'm having with the mute. Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Hall. Senator Lesser.
Senator Lesser votes yes.
What about me? Hello.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Next, we have number 9, proposed Senate Bill 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. Senator Sampson.
Whose idea was it to have a roll call on all these? Senator Sampson votes yes.
Representative Hall. Okay. Moving on.
You got my vote on that, Devin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Thank- Moving to item 13, proposed House Bill 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers. Senator Sampson,
Senator Sampson votes yes.
Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Hall, thank you.
Devin, I need you to go back and do number 5. If I'm not mistaken, that was also a roll call vote. Proposed bill, Senate Bill number 660. Or did we put that on consent? I had yes.
Senate Bill 660 was put on the consent calendar.
Okay, I'll correct that on my sheet. Thank you. And then I'm going to ask another question of Mr. Hanratty.
Yes, Madam Chair.
This chat should be disabled. Is that not correct?
I'm sorry, would you restate that, Madam Chair?
The chat should be disabled.
Well, that's within the chair's discretion. I don't think that's not detailed in the joint rules, but if that's your practice, then it's up to you.
Okay, that was my understanding. So thank you for the clarity. Representative Vargas, can you come on camera for me, please? Okay, at this point, I'm just going to leave it for now, Devin, because I believe that he's taken down the information that Representative Ian Hughes put in there on how to dial in. But going forward, I would suggest that we disable the chat. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, it's Rich from LCO again. The rules do state that any legislator that casts a vote has to be visible. Doesn't say anything about audio, but they have to be visible to the clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Hate to interrupt, pardon me. Are there any more votes? Or was that it? Okay, thank you. And we're coming back at 3 p.m.
That is correct, Senator Sampson.
You're the best, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much. I will see you in a few minutes.
Yes, you're welcome. See you in a few. All right, and it looks like everybody else is taken off, Devin, so you are free until 3 p.m. Thank you.
Hello, Devon, can you hear me?
Yes, Representative Vargas, loud and clear.
All right, I used my laptop. I got rid of my phone, used my laptop. So anyway, did I miss some votes?
Yes. And I believe I can just go through them with you now. And can I just check really quickly with Rich Hanratty? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Rich, given everything that was said prior by Representative Porter, am I clear to do a roll call with Representative Vargas now?
Yes, Representative Vargas is visible on the screen, correct?
Yes,
And you can hear him, correct?
correct.
Yeah, then you can proceed.
Thank you. Representative Vargas, we'll start with item 4, which is proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority.
I vote yes. Representative Vargas votes yes.
Next, we have item 9, which is proposed Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule.
Representative Vargas votes yes on that bill.
Finally, we have item 13, proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers.
Absolutely. Representative Vargas votes yes on that bill too.
Thank you, Representative Vargas.
Okay. Thank you very much, Devin. Now we're on break. How long are we on break for?
We are in recess till 3 o'clock.
Till 3 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much, Devin.
Thank you, Representative Vargas.
All right.
Representative Hall,
Representative Hall, are you joining to vote? Senator Cabrera, are you joining to vote?
Yes, not sure what I missed, but wanted to get back on.
Number 4 on the agenda. Proposed Senate Bill 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority.
I'm a yes vote on that.
Senator Cabrera, can you just state your name when you're voting? Thank you.
Sure. Senator George Cabrera voting yes.
Thank you, Senator Cabrera. That is the only one that you missed.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, guys.
Hi there, Representative Porter, when you're back, would you please let me know? I am back here. I don't know who else is on. We will reconvene in a few minutes. As soon as I see faces here, I will know that we're ready to reconvene.
Representative Vargas, how are you?
I guess I'm doing all right.
Well, miss seeing you next doors.
Yeah, well, I just got out of the hospital Monday afternoon. I
Excuse
had
me,
a,
Representative Vargas, I
Yep.
just want to remind you all that this is being recorded and we are live on YouTube.
oh, okay. Yeah, I had a pulmonary embolism, so,
Oh, I'm sorry.
We are very,
my
all very
goodness.
happy that you're doing well, sir.
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
No, yeah, I just got out of the hospital, but they put me on a
hope
blood
you feel
thinner and
better.
hopefully everything will work out down the road.
My God.
You look well.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We're glad to have you back. I didn't realize it, or I would have sent you flowers.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's just the thought that counts, believe me.
Hugs, my friend. Hope you get well soon.
Yeah, I miss our talks, Harry.
Me too.
I just want to give Representative Porter, I'm going to text her and just want to give her a minute to get back on, and then we will reconvene.
Hey, Devin, is it okay that I vote right now, or should we wait till later?
I think if you would like to vote, Representative Hall, we have not reconvened the meeting yet. And so Devin, if you want to take a vote, that's perfectly fine. And we are still waiting for Representative Porter. So Devin, after you've taken this vote, maybe you want to reach out to her as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Hall. We'll start with number 4, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority.
Representative Hall? Yes.
I see that Senator Sampson is here, and I didn't know if Senator Sampson had a chance to vote yet. And if you did not, would you like to vote now also?
I did vote, Madam Chairman. Thank you for thinking of me, though.
Okay.
Item number 9, proposed Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule.
Representative Hall? Yes.
Item number 13, proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers.
Representative Hall? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we will give Representative Porter another minute. Devin, do you want to reach out to her? Maybe give her a call. I did text her. Oh, she is here now. Great. We were just waiting for a moment. We wanted to make sure you were here. So seeing Representative Porter here now, we will reconvene the meeting of the Labor and Public Employees Committee. And we are on agenda number 3, item number 3, proposed bills to be considered for change of reference. And we have 4 items here that are before you. I would just like to know if we can do these on a consent calendar by voice vote. Is there any objection? Or we could add them. And our LCO, I hope you are here. Is it okay if we just add these to our consent calendar if there's no objection?
Well, the no, you can do a separate consent calendar for these because it's a different action. Wait a minute, reserved for subject under public hearing. Yeah, these are change of reference, so you should do separate consent calendars for separate actions.
Okay, that sounds good. So I would ask if there's any objection to considering these on a separate consent calendar for a change of reference. And they are items number 15 through 18. Seeing no objection, then we will put those on a consent calendar and move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is bills to be drafted as a committee bill. And we have one item there, item number 19, proposed Senate Bill number 661, an act concerning captive audience meetings. Is there any objection to putting this on a consent calendar? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know I said at the outset of this meeting that we were just voting on the items on this agenda to have hearings on them. This one kind of stands out as a little bit of an exception to me. I have sunlight on my noses. It looked awful odd for a second. This one's a little bit different simply because we know what the subject matter is. We're familiar with it. This is a bill that's been back here numerous times. This is a very partisan item, and I would like to be reflected in the negative on this item. So I would object to it going on our consent calendar. I don't mind a voice vote, but I would prefer this was not part of our overall consent calendar. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, great. Having heard that objection, we will start. Is there a motion to make this a bill to be drafted as a committee bill? Proposed SB number 661. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I see moved by Representative Porter. Is there a second? Representative Vargas? Representative Vargas seconded that. So we are now, is there any discussion? Representative Aurora.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I'm not muted. Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. I want to point out that the one, while we philosophically as a part, on this side of the aisle, are not excited about it at all. But there's another thing I want to point out, that something like this, there has been quite a lot of research and discussion that it would be preempted by NLRA. New Jersey had banned this, but ended up dropping from its definition. I'm sorry, Wisconsin passed a law in 2010 that did exactly what we are suggesting, similar to what is being proposed, but that was overturned by a federal court judge who ruled that the state law was preempted by the NLRA. So my point is that not only it's not a good idea, but we can spend all the time for just to wait. And as we already said that, we got a lot of things to do, a lot of business to do here. And when there is such clear precedence in the last few years from the courts that this is not going to stand under the NLRA, this is going to be preempted. And why should we spend, again, precious time for the committee to base it when it's really out there that this is not something which is viable? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any other comments on this? Seeing no hands, then I believe, Senator Sampson, you said you would entertain a voice vote on this? You would not object to a voice vote, is that correct?
Me personally, yes. I don't speak for anyone else, though.
Is there anybody who
Madam.
objects to doing this as a voice vote? Seeing no objection, then I would ask that all those in favor unmute yourself and be prepared to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay?
Nay.
Okay. Okay. Having heard from the, this then passes. And
You're muted, Senator Kushner.
thank you. I've been trying to avoid muting myself so I don't have that problem. We will then vote to draft this as a committee bill, and we're moving to item number 5 on the agenda, concepts to be raised. The first item there, well, we have concepts. First item is number 20, an act concerning forced arbitration. Is there any objection to placing this on a consent calendar, a separate consent calendar? Seeing no objection, then we will place this on our consent calendar. Item number 21, an act concerning minor and technical changes to Workers' Compensation Act. Any objection to placing this? Representative Aurora.
Madam Chair, I would still like to make a couple of comments on the concept number 20. Although I do agree that it should be on the, I'm agreeable for it to be on the consent calendar. If you don't, if you would allow, can I make a couple of comments on that?
If you will be brief, because it is a little bit out of order, but I will hear your comments, but I would ask you to be brief.
Sure. Yeah, I have two small points, very short points. One is that, most civil contracts have arbitration clauses because lawsuits are very expensive. They're draining, they hurt people, and as a result, most people do not use them unless they are really necessary in the end. Now, in these unemployment contracts, or these employment contracts, my apology, arbitration has to be decided up front that both parties will agree to it. So to some extent, we need to be I want to make a point here that taking out arbitration from employment contracts would lead to more litigation and perhaps, quite lack of resolution of straightforward situations, which form a very large majority of unemployment disagreements. So I want to put that for, as I said, there are 1.5 million people who work in Connecticut. We don't want, if we make everybody, go one way, it may lead to more trouble for our workforce. So I just want to make sure that, I make that comment there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So Representative Aurora, this, we will hear this and we will potentially be hearing these concepts, and I believe the word force makes it clear it's not going to restrict voluntary agreements. But having said that, I would like to see if there's a motion to add items number 20 to 32 to a consent calendar. And if there's no objection, then we would do so.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Representative Vargas, seconded by Representative Porter.
Second.
Is there any objection to doing that?
Could you repeat the motion, ma'am? I'm sorry.
To move items number 20 to 32 to a consent calendar.
So I won't object to that, although I probably object to every one of the bills in that scenario, but in the interest of expediency, I wouldn't object.
Thank you, Representative Bertigliano. Any other comments? Seeing none, then I'm going to move to the consent calendar. And starting with item number 1, the consent calendar for proposed bills to be reserved for subject matter hearing. And please, the clerk and our LCO and OLR folks, please make sure I don't miss anything, but I'm going to start from the top. Item number 1, proposed bill, Senate Bill number 141. Do I have to read the whole title, or it's been read previously in this meeting? Is it okay if I just read the bill number?
Madam Chair, this is Rich Hanwright from LCO. The convention has been for the clerk to read the bill number and the title of each bill. We have 3 consent calendars, according to my notes. Consent calendar 1, clerk would read the bill numbers and the titles, and then the committee can proceed with a vote.
Thank you. I will be happy to turn this over to our clerk. Devin, would you like to read the consent calendar and the item number, the proposed bill number, and the title?
Item number 1, proposed Senate Bill number 141, an act concerning workers' compensation coverage for current and former members of paid municipal or volunteer fire departments. Item number 2, proposed House Bill number 5377, an act concerning the removal of COVID-19 related layoffs from the unemployment compensation experience account for the calendar year 2021. Item number 3, proposed House Bill number 5379, an act promoting the participation in vocational agricultural work programs by small farms. Item number 5, proposed Senate Bill number 660, an act expanding workers' compensation benefits for mental or emotional impairments suffered by all workers. Item number 6, proposed Senate Bill number 662, an act extending occupational safety and health administration 10-hour training card validity. Item number 7, proposed Senate Bill number 665, an act allowing emergency medical service providers to obtain workers' compensation benefits for certain mental or emotional impairments. Item number 8, proposed Senate Bill number 666, an act concerning workers' compensation benefits for certain mental or emotional impairments and mental health care for correctional staff, emergency medical staff, and dispatchers. Item number 10, proposed House Bill number 5952, an act eliminating undue delay in the payment of workers' compensation awards. Item number 11, proposed House Bill number 5954, an act continuing the suspension of the experience rate component of the employment insurance tax. Item number 12, proposed House Bill number 6284, an act expanding the age limit of certain information technology job training programs. Item number 14, proposed House Bill number 6344, an act creating the Office of Unemployed Workers Advocate.
And is there any objection to doing this with a voice vote? I assume not, since it's a consent calendar. So I would ask that the members of the committee unmute yourself and be prepared to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will move then to the second consent calendar, and that would you please read the items on proposed bills to be considered for change of reference?
Item number 15, proposed Senate Bill 659, an act establishing an opioid recovery and reform pilot program, change of reference to public health. Item number 16, proposed House Bill number 6286, an act establishing a preference for supplier diversity program businesses and awarding state contracts, change of reference to government administration and elections. Item number 17, proposed House Bill number 6340, an act concerning wastewater treatment facility operators, change of reference to appropriations. Item number 18, proposed House Bill number 6346, an act regarding staff payment procedures in nursing home facilities, change of reference to human services.
Having heard the list of bills on this consent calendar, prepare yourself to vote. Please unmute yourself. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Finally, the third consent calendar, concepts to be raised. Yes, concepts to be raised. Would you please read the list, Devin, for us?
Item number 20, an act concerning forced arbitration. Item number 21, an act concerning minor and technical changes to Workers' Compensation Act. Item 22, an act concerning a just transition to climate protective energy production and community investment. Item number 23, an act concerning employment regulation. Item number 24, an act concerning Department of Labor. Item number 25, an act concerning working conditions. Item number 26, an act concerning workers' compensation. Item number 27, an act concerning technical and other changes to the Labor Department statutes. Item number 28, an act concerning the Connecticut Department of Labor's Executive Director. Item number 29, an act concerning volunteer fire departments and ambulance companies and the definition of employer under the Connecticut Occupational Safety and Health Act. Item number 30, an act regarding neutral arbitrator selection committee requirements at the State Board of Mediation and Arbitration. Item number 31, an act concerning non-compete agreements. Item number 32, an act concerning a disparity study.
Thank you, Devin. And so now I would like to ask people to unmute themselves. And please, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Hearing one opposed, it passes. And so I just want to clarify, I know there were some questions, but we did do a voice vote on the item number 19 earlier. I know it was a little confusing with a voice vote on one bill like that. So just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that. In terms of, I would like to ask the clerk, have all members of the committee voted on the roll call votes that have been held today?
Yes, Madam Chair.
If all members have voted, is there anyone who knows of a member that did not vote? Because I trust Devin knows his stuff here. But if we have all members have voted, then will you then announce the tally of those votes, and we will not hold the votes open? Should we start with item number 4, which is the proposed SB 658?
I'm sorry, Senator Kushner. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Devin, you need to read the item number, the title, and then announce the roll call. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know where we are. So I think we're going to start with item number 4.
Item number 4, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority. And Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Should I read the total tally or go down
You
number
can
by?
just read the total tally. Is that correct, Rich? I think that's correct. Just read the tally.
Yes, and then then you can announce the results, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. The total tally for item number 4, proposed Senate Bill number 658, an act requiring employers to recall laid off workers in order of seniority, is 10 yay and 3 nay.
Okay, so having heard the tally of votes, that bill has passed and will be reserved for a subject matter hearing. Next on our agenda was item number 9.
Item number 9, proposed Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. Total is 10 yeas and 3 nays.
So the total number voting,
13.
great. So having announced
Sorry,
the
Madam
vote,
Chair, I missed it. I'm sorry. I got distracted for a minute. If you could just have him repeat that, please.
certainly.
Yes. Item number 9, proposed Senate Bill number 668, an act concerning a fair work week schedule. 10 yeas and 3 nays.
Total voting,
13.
so the bill passes and that will be scheduled, reserved for a subject matter hearing. I believe the next item is item number 13.
Item number 13, proposed House Bill number 6343, an act ensuring fair employee protections for gig workers. There were 11 yeas and 2 nays.
And total voting,
13.
so that bill passes and that will be scheduled, reserved for a subject matter hearing. Next, we have, I believe that may be all of the, I believe we've completed our agenda. That's all of the roll call votes. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So moving to the next item on our agenda, which is the announcement of and time and date of the next meeting. The Labor and Public Employees Committee will be holding a public hearing on February 9th, and that will be scheduled to start at 10 a.m. And if there's no other business, then we will adjourn this meeting of the Labor and Public Employees Committee, and we will see you all next week at our public hearing. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.